When I was 5 years old, I accepted Jesus into my heart and never questioned my faith, never really questioned God up until I got into junior high. And then I really began to question it and began to question if God was real and if really having Him in my life changed anything, if it changed anything about me. And so I kind of got to a place where I decided that I didn't want to be a believer in God. I didn't want Him in my life, and so I rejected Him and just stopped believing in the whole thing. I just tried to push God away as much as I could.
It's on the tip of my heart, the words you say, but I fall apart and I walk away.
So I started feeling just empty and alone and wanted to find something that would help me feel full again. And so I tried a bunch of different things, and one day I just decided to start cutting myself. And I did it one time and felt a lot better and felt like I was full and I had something that I could control and felt like I had something to run to other than God. And cutting was more reliable than God was because I could touch it and feel it. And for me, it was just easier to believe in cutting than it was to believe in God. So I kept cutting all throughout junior high, and by the time I got to high school, I really began to feel like cutting was beginning to control me, and I had lost control of it. And I went to beach camp that summer and started to feel like maybe this is something I need to stop doing, but I'm not really sure if I'm ready to let it go and stop. And I kept doing it, and then the next summer in 10th grade, I went to camp and realized that I had almost become addicted to cutting, and I thrived off of the pain, and it was my identity, and it became my identity, and I began to lose sight of who I was. And so at camp I prayed to just surrender this to God, and came home from camp and thought I was done with it and thought I was free from it and it wasn't going to ever be an issue again. And it wasn't for a couple months, and then I started to get stressed out from school when it started, and get stressed out from things going on in my family and from friends, and I started cutting again, and this time I cut a lot more, and it was really hard, and I didn't think that I could stop this time. December of 2010, my sister went to go give birth to her baby girl, and they found out that her heart had stopped beating and that her baby wasn't alive anymore. A few days later, she gave birth to a stillborn, and I didn't understand, why God would allow a little baby to die, and why, when I was just now starting to feel like I could trust Him, He would take my niece away. And I didn't understand that, and felt like God just didn't want the best for me, and that I needed to just run to cutting because I felt like God just didn't care if He was going to let my baby niece die. And so I started cutting more and more and more, and got to the point where I was doing it almost every day and just didn't think I'd ever be able to stop, and felt like I was going to cut for the rest of my life, and never really thought there was going to be an end to it. And after about 6 months of cutting constantly, I realized that now I want to stop. This needs to stop. I don't even know who I am anymore. And so I did stop, and I surrendered it to God and just gave it to Him. And I have almost been completely cutting free for almost a year, and I have freedom and life and peace and hope, and I know now what it means to be forgiven and to be redeemed from things. And I now realize how important it is to surrender to God and to just give Him all of your heart and let Him have control of every area of your life. You need to just give Him your whole heart. And it took me about 6 years to realize that, but I finally did, and I feel like I'm finally free, and that's my storyline.